On August 6, 1945, a man stood in the city of Hiroshima, completely unaware that history was about to explode above his head. He was not a soldier, not a politician, not someone seeking danger. He was just a 29-year-old engineer named Tsutomu Yamaguchi. A husband, a father, a man on a business trip. That morning was supposed to be ordinary. It was supposed to be his last day in Hiroshima before returning home to Nagasaki. The war had already devastated much of Japan, but Hiroshima had been largely untouched, which made it feel strangely safe compared to other cities. At 8:15 a.m., that illusion vanished. He was walking toward a shipyard when he heard the distant hum of an aircraft overhead. When he looked up, he saw a lone American B-29 bomber crossing the sky. Then came the flash. It was brighter than anything he had ever seen. So bright he later compared it to magnesium exploding in front of his eyes. For a split second, everything went white. Then the shock wave hit. The bomb detonated about 1.5 miles away. The pressure lifted him off the ground and hurled him into a nearby field. His eardrums burst. The left side of his body was badly burned. The sky turned black. Within seconds, Hiroshima was transformed into fire and rubble. Buildings collapsed as if they were made of paper, and tens of thousands of people were killed almost instantly. He should have died there, but he didn't. When he regained consciousness, the world around him felt unreal. Smoke swallowed the skyline. Fires burned in every direction. The city he had walked through that morning no longer existed. People wandered through the ruins in silence. Some were burned so badly their skin hung from their arms. Others were blinded. Many simply walked forward in shock, not yet understanding what had happened. He later described it as a vision of hell, and yet, somehow he kept moving. He found shelter in an air raid bunker and survived the night. The pain from his burns was intense, and his hearing was damaged, but he was alive. The next morning, still injured and barely able to stand, he made his way to the train station. Incredibly, trains were running. In a city that had been nearly erased from the map, trains were running. He boarded one and left Hiroshima behind. He was going home to Nagasaki. 3 days later, on August 9th, he reported back to work. His body was wrapped in bandages, and he was weak from his injuries, but he felt lucky to be alive. He began telling his co-workers what had happened in Hiroshima, describing a single bomb powerful enough to destroy an entire city. His boss struggled to believe him. It sounded impossible. Then, at 11:02 a.m., it happened again. Another flash, another blinding white light that swallowed the sky, another explosion powerful enough to flatten buildings in an instant. The second atomic bomb detonated less than 2 miles from his office in Nagasaki. Once again, shockwaves ripped through the city. Once again, fire consumed neighborhoods. Once again, thousands were killed in seconds. And once again, Tsutomu Yamaguchi survived. The odds of surviving one atomic bomb are already almost impossible. Surviving two in 2 different cities, 3 days apart, is nearly beyond comprehension. But survival did not mean escape. He suffered radiation sickness in the weeks that followed. High fevers left him bedridden. His hair fell out. His body weakened. His wife and infant son were also exposed to radiation. For days they didn't know whether they would live, but they did. Japan surrendered less than a week later, and World War II came to an end. For many, that meant relief. For survivors like Yamaguchi, it meant learning to live with memories that would never fade. Radiation exposure continued to affect thousands for years. Many developed cancers. Many faced discrimination. Survivors were known as hibakusha, and some employers avoided hiring them out of fear and misunderstanding. For a long time, Yamaguchi stayed quiet. He worked. He raised his family. He tried to move forward, but the memories never disappeared. Later in life, he decided that silence was no longer an option. He began speaking publicly about what he had witnessed, not to relive the trauma, but to warn the world about the true cost of nuclear weapons. He described the flash, the heat, the screams, the silence that followed. He wanted people to understand that atomic bombs are not abstract political tools or military strategies. They are human devastation on a scale that numbers cannot fully capture. In 2009, the Japanese government officially recognized him as a survivor of both bombings. Out of millions of people affected by the war, he became the only person formally acknowledged as having endured both atomic blasts. One man, two cities, two atomic bombs. He passed away in 2010 at the age of 93, having lived a long life after surviving events that killed more than 200,000 people. It is easy to reduce history to dates and statistics. August 6th, August 9th, casualty counts, military decisions. But history is not numbers. It is mornings that begin normally and end in fire. It is families waiting at home. It is ordinary people standing beneath a clear sky that suddenly turns white. Tsutomu Yamaguchi did not choose to become part of history. History chose him, and by surviving twice, he carried a responsibility few could imagine: to remember, to speak, and to remind future generations of what happens when the power to destroy outpaces the wisdom to restrain it. Because when the sky falls once, it is tragedy. When it falls twice, it becomes a warning. The question is whether we are willing to listen,